Hey, what's up, friends? It's really good to see you guys today. I'm going to just jump right into it, everyone. And, oh, I'm Melissa, by the way, for those that are new with me today on my video. And yeah, I'm a grieving mother and daughter. So welcome to my channel. And today I was going to talk about wondering, like, what's next, basically. I'm kind of in that phase with our teenagers right now, actually. That's kind of the season we are entering in, especially with our 18-year-old who is now a freshman in college. And he definitely wonders what's next, you know, and our daughter does too, and I do too. And so I thought I'd talk about that because we've been kind of having that conversation a little bit more recently about what's next. You know, and kind of how does this look as we are moving through different phases of our grief, and especially for these teens who are growing in this grief, you know, physically and mentally. So, you know, there really is a point as our teenagers are processing their grief, like I just said, they're beginning to look forward. And just again, instead of merely only looking at the past. You know, and our daughter is talking about college. She's wondering what colleges she should go to. Our son is in college. So yeah, they're definitely wondering what's next. Forgive me, my grief brain. I do have my notes, friends. But so I'm going to just start off. I wrote down some things again from the grieving teenager's heart. Some things that they think about in this season of what's next in their grief. I think it's helpful just to hear straight out of their hearts what they're saying. So one teenager thinks, I'm finally getting it. Things are different. I can't go back. I can't turn back time. I can't undo anything. You're dead. Things will never be the same. I don't like it, but I'm starting to accept it. Maybe. Another thought, then I find myself looking for you again. It's like some sort of reflex of my heart, but I'm doing that less and less now. I can relate to that teen. You know, it is sort of like a reflex of our heart. You know, we're looking for our children. I know I still do occasionally find myself looking for them, like at a park or a school playground, in a store. You know, it's like a reflex of our heart, you know. Another thought is, I hope I don't forget you. I thought that was impossible, but now I don't know. I don't think of you near as much now. Is that okay? Are you offended? Are you thinking at all? Another thought, I'm starting to smile again too. I feel guilty when I realize it. But I have to admit it feels good. Really good. I even laugh now. I like to think you would want me to smile and laugh. Maybe you're even smiling with me. I hope so. Another thought, I'm talking more. I'm less afraid. I feel a little calmer, a little less anxious. I no longer feel like I'm in a deep pit, frantically scrambling to get out. I can breathe better. There seems to be more oxygen in the air around me. Perhaps my heart is coming back to life. A part of me died with you. And the rest of me is ready to find a way to live again. Maybe it's possible to miss you and still be happy, or to at least be something, or be somewhat okay. Wow, that's a big thought. That's a big thought for a teen, right? But we do begin to notice that we're beginning to breathe a little easier, that it does feel like at times there is more air in the room for us to breathe. Another thought, I don't want to leave you behind, but I sense I need to say goodbye to you somehow. I'll always miss you. You'll always have a place in my heart. I'll live on, carrying you inside me. I'll talk about you and smile. And if I end up crying, so what? That's a great thought from a teen, right? Yeah, they really feel those conflicting feelings. I don't want to leave my brother and sister behind. I want to carry them with me. I don't want to forget them, you know, but then they find themselves growing and their minds are changing, you know, and our daughter is having a little bit harder time remembering a lot of things. Yeah. Another thought, everyone dies, don't they? But I'm not sure everyone lives. I want to live. That's a mature thought right there from that teen. Wow, everyone dies, don't they? But I'm not sure everyone lives. Wow, that's powerful. That's a lot to think about for that one. Could probably make a video about that one in itself. Oh, another thought, yes, I want to live. Another thought, things are changing. Again, I can feel it. The change is in me. I'm waking up. I've been living a nightmare. Someone reached in and pulled my heart out through my throat. My chest has been hollow and empty ever since. I can relate to that one. Another thought, somehow my heart has returned. I don't know how, and I'm not sure when. But it's beating again. I can feel it. I'm alive. Yeah. Yes, you're dead. That's finally sinking in. The world is still spinning. I'm still breathing. I'm still here. I want to be here. Yeah. Another thought from a teen, I feel different now. Maybe I matured a little, perhaps a lot. Death can do that, I guess. Why does someone have to go for us to appreciate who and what we have left? Why does someone have to die in order for us to see the beauty and power in life? That's my question, right? I mean, that's from a teenager's heart, but my goodness, I can relate to that one. Yeah. I definitely feel very different, and death definitely does that. It does. And yeah, like that old expression, you don't know what you got until it's gone. Yeah, that works for people in relationships too. Another thought, I'm smiling again. I laugh occasionally. I can taste my food. I'm sighing less. Yeah, I can taste my food again now too. I can relate to that thought. You know, the first 2 years, it was like food was just bland, not a lot of, hardly any taste, and eating to go through the motions of eating, you know. Another thought, I'm starting to talk again. People are coming up and hugging me, saying stuff like, dude, welcome back. We missed you. Now I'm glad to be back. Yeah, I'm different. I feel like I've only got one leg, but I'm alive. And glad to be alive. I wish you were here, but I know that's not going to happen. I'll find a way to miss you, but still live. Yeah, it does feel like we only got one leg and one arm. You know, still left here alive, but we're missing significant parts of our body. Another thought, it's time to make all this count somehow. I don't know how, but I'm determined. Another thought, life can still be good, and I can make it so by God's grace. Yeah, that teen said, yet I am confident I will see the Lord's goodness while I am here in the land of the living. That's Psalm 27:13. But yeah, friends, that's my verse too, actually, which is why I wrote it down. But you know, I cling to that. I cling to it. You know, our pastor said something really awesome in church that's just really sticking with me. If my situation or circumstance, it ain't good, God ain't done with me yet. God's not done with it yet. You know, he's not done yet. And I am confident I will see the Lord's goodness while I am here in the land of the living. Yeah, loss changes our world, friends, and it changes us, you know. Death changes things. It's what it does. And it alters our world and impacts how we see ourselves, life, others, and even God. It does. And so as we process and live in our grief, we discover very quickly that we are just not the same people anymore. And some say that loss doesn't change us, but rather it reveals us, who we really are on the inside. I read that somewhere in one of my hundreds of grief books that I've read that I feel like just kind of don't really do me a whole lot of good. Sometimes it's helpful. It like gives me some clarity to my thoughts and emotions, but that was interesting to me, you know, that loss doesn't change us, but rather it reveals us, who we really are in the inside. Yeah, that's interesting, and that's a lot to ponder. So I'll just let you sit in that, think about that one on your own. But you know, it did definitely reveal some things within inside of me that I didn't realize were there. Some other things that I sensed were there, and revealed to me a lot of ugly things that were really in me that I didn't want to be in me anymore. So yeah, it definitely does that on a lot of ends. You know, the way we choose to grieve does indeed show our hearts and what's happening inside of us. It does, you know, and I see some other mothers who are so verbal about their grief, and I admire that greatly. You know, I admire that so greatly. The tenacity and the courage that they have to be unapologetic in their grief. Yeah. You know, it just reveals so much of their love for their child and for the person that they're grieving. And we don't need to be loud about it either, you know, to know, you know, our personalities play a role in that. They do. If we're not much of a talker and not much of a sharer prior to the grief, we're probably not going to automatically turn into grief. So we'll maybe be more likely of the personality that grieves more quietly, more privately, doesn't share their grief on social media. And then there's others that do, and it's okay, because really how we grieve is us. You know, it's us, and it shows our hearts. So we have to do it our own unique way. Some days I feel like sharing my grief and putting things on social media, and then other days not at all. And it's just me and Jesus, you know, or me and my husband, me and our kids, and we're just here quietly grieving, you know, not letting everyone know about it, you know. So severe stress brings the best and the worst in us and everything in between, right? We definitely know that, right? We always say stress brings out who we are and all that kind of stuff. Well, same with grief. We stumble along, and we falter and we fail, you know, and sometimes we are painstakingly crawling forward, inch by inch. You know, and at our most painful moments, all we can do is lie there stunned and paralyzed, hoping that help will come from somewhere. You know, the world is different. And we're wired for connection, and Noah and Sophia are missing. Someone in your world is missing, and my mother is missing. My dad is missing. I care greatly for these people, and they are missing. And our life web has been cruelly struck. So strands have been severed, like I've explained before, you know, and so we struggle and we grieve. And so do these teens. And as we grieve, we're adjusting and then growing. And the teens are definitely growing in this grief, you know. And like I've talked about before, teenagers, I just have to repeat it because they're already deeply into a struggle to figure out who they are. They already are. And a death just feels like a grenade going off in an already unstable environment for the teen. You know, and so I've noticed this tragic, unwanted, awful, painful, traumatic loss. Yeah, it somehow stimulated maturity and growth in our teens that I pray sets them up for greater relational and life success down the road. Yeah, that I do. And I've noticed that as the teens process their grief, they're going from like, what's the point type of questions to what's next. And they begin to embrace life again. They're hungry to live with deeper meaning. They are, our two teenagers are. And they've even expressed that too. You know, death can catapult teens forward to live with greater purpose. Yeah, they want to make a difference. And yes, a devastating loss has the potential to crush the teenager's heart and strip them of hope. Yeah, it does. You know, the teen can't afford to let this happen, and neither can we. And death and disaster can be turned around and used to stoke the fires of deeper, more powerful living. Yeah, I believe that. I do. And I am trusting God to do that for us and for my family, for Him to give purpose to our pain. Like we need purpose with our money, or our money just gets wings and flies away, and we don't really have much to show for it, and we're not really helpful in anyone's life because our money doesn't have any purpose. Same with our pain, our sorrow and our grief. It needs a purpose, you know, it needs a clear direction and a meaning. And I'm trusting the Lord to do that for all of us, for everyone in my household, you know. And teenagers, they can find ways to use their grief rather than letting their grief use them. And grief can become the fuel that drives them forward to make more of a difference than they ever dreamed. Yeah, just like with like handicaps or something, you know what I mean? Like we might be born with a handicap, or we develop one later in life, and we, instead of allowing that handicap to use us, we use it, you know, and we don't see our limitations, or we try not to, you know what I mean? And we try to push forward through our handicaps, you know? And so finding ways to turn their grief to good can be the teenager's secret weapon in the adjusting process. You know, I believe that. I do. And that's where we are really in our season right now, actually. You know, finding ways to turn our grief to good instead of allowing it to keep us down and keep us depressed and keep us unmotivated. Yeah, I feel the Lord stirring this really within me, a desire to live. And a great desire, even greater so, for Elijah and Hannah to live, to really live. Yeah. You can make a difference. I can make a difference. Oh, how the enemy loves to tell us we can't, and that we fail too much as parents, and that we're just so broken and we're beyond helping these guys. And it's just a lie. It's such a lie. It's such a lie. We really need to be aware. Number one, be aware that loss can drive a teenager's heart in many directions. Okay, many directions, you guys. Loss is paralyzingly painful. That was a fucking mouthful. But it is paralyzingly painful. Like we're just like paralyzed in our pain and for a while. You know, we are. And it can shock a teenager's soul and cause them to go out off the rails into very destructive paths. Okay, just like it does for us. And tragic events also can be used, however, to help them think deeply about life, love, and purpose. Right? But we'll have to engage in them with that. They're just not going to be able to just magically find that on their own. We really do need to engage in them with that. We really do. You know, secondly, don't despair, you know, when the season of your teen seems to be struggling and not adjusting. That was the message I received from the Lord Jesus. You know, the Lord told me, do not despair, Melissa. You know, Jesus has this. He has this. He is in control of these teenagers. He is sovereign over their lives. And that there are lots more that it feels like my teenagers are struggling more than they are adjusting. And I can't help but wonder, you know, and I worry and I'm concerned, you know, and the Lord just wants me to remind me, you know, these teenagers' hearts, God has it. God has it. He has their hearts. You know, many teenagers, their hearts have been hit multiple times, and in such a way that it appears that like maybe loss and death has gotten the better of them. You know, like a teenager has just gone through one thing after another in their life, and then now, bam, here we've got death. And so it has gotten the better of them, and it looks that way, it appears that way, right? They're not coping well, right? And maybe they're acting out, maybe they're driving headlong into addictions or some real questionable behavior, right? Perhaps anxiety, depression, or other mental health or emotional issues, right, have taken over. And maybe they're on the edge of some really overtly destructive or even criminal behavior, okay? So maybe those are your seasons with your teen right now. And I get that, you know, helping teenagers can seem like a solo climb of Mount Everest. Or like, yeah, that solo climb up by Pikes Peak. Jeez, or the Manitou Incline. Like, oh my gosh, where's the help, right? Where's the refreshment and the ease and almost any climb though. I just want to remind you of this though, you guys. Any climb is almost doable, however, with God's help and guidance. And if we take one step at a time, follow Christ as He leads us in supporting and loving our teens exactly as they are in the present moment. That's what I really have had to do. Rely on the love of Christ to love through me onto my teenagers in the moment, right then and there where they are. Thirdly, no matter where the teen is in their grief journey or how many losses they've had, showing up and loving them where they are can have a tremendous impact. Just think about it. That's exactly what Jesus does for us. Jesus does not make us go clean ourselves up first and then come talk to Him. He meets us He is our ever-present helper in our time of need. He is ever present right there, and His presence has such a tremendous impact on my grief. And His Spirit that lives within me has a tremendous impact on my teenagers who live with me. Even in cases that look bleak, there is always hope. There's always hope. That teenager is still alive. They have not taken their lives. There is still hope. There's always hope. You know, I believe no heart is ever beyond reach. No heart is, no matter where the teen is. Love them by meeting them where they are. Show up, listen, try to hear the pain and broken heart behind the words. Many teens have never had someone sit down and care enough to actually listen. Have you thought about that? We get so busy as parents, especially if we have children younger than the teenagers, and the teenagers are, you know, driving and so on and so forth. And so it's like we just don't no longer sit down with them much anymore and listen to them or try to get to talk to them, because they definitely always give us that attitude or aura of whatever, I don't care, don't talk to me, everything's fine. You know, like I talked about in a couple other videos, you know, but they do. And it's sad that many of them haven't had someone just really sit down and talk and listen to them. You know, it may take time to gain their trust, but it'll be worth it. And that's what I'm experiencing. It is definitely worth it. Fourthly, realize that there are some teens who may be beyond your reach. You know, especially you as a teacher or the counselor or the neighbor or the aunt or nana, papa, you know, there are some teens who will never trust you. Sometimes it is that way. And it can be really sad when it's in the case of a parent that maybe your teen just may not ever trust you, no matter how hard you try. But you're just not in control of this. I'm not in control of this. And you're only in control of how you approach them and what you choose to think, say, and do. Those are the things that we can control. And their responses are their own. That it is. And if a teen chooses to walk away from you, please remember that it is not all about you. And in fact, it may not be about you at all. Right? Really. And it's about them, their lives, their history of losses, and their hearts. So give it to God. Give it to God, who is sovereign over their hearts, who is sovereign over their lives, and trust Him to guide you into gaining and earning that teen's trust. And fifth, watch out for perfectionism. Seriously, friends, perfectionism doesn't work and it threatens relationships. I think we really do know that. Trying to get it perfectly will hinder you from loving, because we're too busy trying to get it perfect off what some book said or what some counselor said or what I might have even said from a video. You know, like you just can't. You just trying to get it perfectly it will hinder you from loving. Just show up, be available. That's what I'm learning. That's what I'm experiencing. Meet them where they are and love them as best as you can. Perfectionism will not help you process your own grief issues either. That I've definitely experienced. And many of us, we just tend to be so hard on ourselves, me included. Like, I'm the first one to raise my hand on that one, you know, wishing I could do more, wishing I could be more, having more of an impact, making more of a difference in my teen's life. You know, I do, you know, but like I said in my previous videos, rather than accepting our humanness, we just tend to want to play God. And we seek to maneuver, manipulate, and control, don't we? And we want to alter situations, heal hearts, transform lives, especially as mothers. Like, whoa, we've got big driving desires for those. When we try to control anyone or anything, we make things about us. Yeah, and at that point, we stop truly loving. You know, we stop to truly love, because at this point, it's now about ourselves. When we try to control anyone or anything, and we trip and stumble along, okay? My husband and I, we do with this whole thing, we do. And we fail often, actually, if I were to be really honest, right? And hopefully, and I believe, by God's grace, love, power, and His Holy Spirit, we fail forward, okay? Learning how to comfort and be comforted, how to receive and give acceptance, respect, and love. You know, does that make sense? So we fail, but we're failing forward. You know, we make mistakes, learn from them, and hopefully engage other hearts better the next time. Because, yeah, we've learned what we didn't like, what we did say and did last time. You know, we must become extremely good at forgiveness of both others and ourselves. It's a topic for a whole nother day, but I'll just leave that right there. That I think we understand we do need to get really good at forgiving ourselves and others, and quickly, you know, and release mistakes quickly to Jesus. Release the I don't knows to Jesus. Release all of this. Release the what's next to Jesus. He knows what's next. He knows what's next for my teens. I don't. I have some ideas. I have, of course, a lot of dreams and hopes and desires for them. But it is God. I got to process my own issues and grief with Jesus. I do. And I need to be kind to myself and very patient with myself. And I want to leave that with you. Be kind to yourself. Be patient with yourself. Process your own issues and grief with Jesus. Grief is not a sprint, friends. It's a life marathon. Okay, it is. And it's not an event or a to-do list. It's not. You know, time does not heal all wounds, but healing and adjusting does take time. And we got to breathe deeply and help our teens to do the same. Take some deep breath. Teenagers want to make a difference, you guys. So I just want to leave you with that and remind you of that they do want to make a difference and they want their lives to count. And of course they do. It's how we grow up into adults with that behavior, with that burning desire and wanting to go to college or careers and wanting to make a difference and wanting to be helpful. Well, it starts back in our teen years, even childhood. You know, it does. So let's not forget that they want their lives to count. So I'm trusting God, I'm praying, and I am believing God will help our teens and will use this awful losses and our grief to give us a greater sense of purpose and meaning in life. I am believing Him for that. Nothing is ever wasted with God. Nothing is. Not an ounce of our pain will be wasted with Him. I believe that. Not a tear shed that He hasn't seen and collected. You know, many grieving teenagers want to be met where they are. So just meet them where they are. Walk with them is not easy. So yeah, meeting them where they are and walking with them is not easy. So we gotta be patient with both them and ourselves. We really do. Don't worry about being perfect. Focus on being authentic and loving. Yeah, that's what I really just want to land there. You know, that's really what I've been getting out of my prayer time with the Lord when I'm praying for my teens. And I just keep feeling that in my spirit. You know, I got to let go of trying to be perfect and be the sole hero and the rescuer. Just be authentic and loving, because God is their shepherd. He is their deliverer, you know, and teens are designed like every other human being for relationship and created for impact. Okay? So are we. And together with Christ, we can make more of a difference than any of us could ever imagine or dream in our grief, with our pain. You know, I believe that. We mourn with those who mourn. We rejoice with those who rejoice. Do life together, friends. You know, do life with our teens. The good, the bad, and everything in between. Well, I'm going to abruptly stop right here as well, just like I kind of start off real fast because it's been kind of a long video, and I really, really appreciate your precious time and spending it with me. I really do, friends. And it's good to share my heart with you and to be able to encourage you in your grief. I just have such a desire. I just have such a desire to encourage others in their grief and in their loss. Encourage them in their grief with the Lord. How God is so acquainted with their pain. And that they're not alone. We're not alone, and we're not alone in this with our teens either. So, well, God bless you, friends, and have a great day. Be well, and I will see you on my next video. Oh, I just wanted to apologize for such the week delay in my video. Life, friends, life. But I am doing my best to get back consistently 2 videos a week. So, see you next time. Take care.